Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Luke Lloyd and today I'm going to go over the GL assessment Year 5 Block 5 Math lesson. This is lesson number 4 in our sequence for week 2. Let's move on. These are what we're covering today. So we've got a lot of questions that cover a range of problems. So obviously with maths there might be a few things we struggle at, a few things we do really well at. What this lesson will do is highlight those so we can practice them further. So we're going to do a couple of 10-minute tests. The book that we'll be using I'll show you in just a moment, but it's actually the Maths Quick Practice Test Book for the 11 Plus. And again, I think it's just we'll go through in detail all the different problem topics that are going to come up. The thing to really take away from this lesson is some things you're going to do brilliantly on, some things you might struggling on. Making a note of these and possibly using the notes at the back that you can find on page 70, I think going to be really important, really useful, so that you know what to practice more of, so you know what to look up online, so you know what to ask for more help with in terms of the Q&A sessions and at the end. These are the things that if everyone does this individually, it's going to be really valuable. So just going through and saying, yep, I'm happy, I'm not happy. And perhaps a nice way of doing it might just be, for example, smiley face, neutral face, sad face, depending on how confident we feel on each of them and indicate what we need to practice on. So the objective today is to practice numeric-based tests under time conditions. The time conditions are again going to be another thing we're going to talk about because making sure we're doing efficient working out, not just correct. Correct is level 1, but what we need to do is hit level 2 where it's efficient and correct. So the efficiency, the speed is going to really matter. So these are the books that we're going to be using today. So it's the Maths Quick Practice Test Book. And to start with, we're going to be looking at Test 1. And we're going to give ourselves 10 minutes to do as much as we can. So obviously I've got the timer there. But before you get started, I do want to just talk about the things that are going to come up. So angles, algebra, length, money, spatial awareness, pie charts, pictograms, and perimeter. And it might be you come back to this page so you know how to name the questions in terms of what you're going to write down, what you need to work on, if once we've marked it, certain these questions need work on. But they're the things to focus on. There we go. Right. Again, this is test 1, 10 minutes. I'm going to obviously start the timer, but you're going to need to get a timer yourself because you can have to pause my video, my lovely voice, and then come back to me so we can go through the answers together. I will briefly just go through the example now because it's there. So it says, what is the area of this square? Important thing to note here is, of course, that squares have got 5 centimeters on all sides, so you can label both sides 5. And the formula, and you'll need to know formulae for more than just a square, you'll need to know how to do areas of rectangles, areas of triangles, and so on. But for squares, it's base times height. So if you write area equals base times height. In this case, the base is 5, height is 5, so it's 5 times 5, which is 25. The really important thing, and this is the bit that will catch people out, is it's centimeters times centimeters. And if you have anything times anything, that means centimeters squared, because it also times in centimeters. So that's why our answer is centimeters squared. Just same for all area questions. Volume would be centimeters cubed because it's base times height times width, but I won't give away any more just in case it comes up. Right guys, you've got 10 minutes, really good luck. Remember, do as much working out as you need. That'll be the balance. That's the hard thing with the maths, to get the right amount of enough working out to get the mark, but no more. Right, really good luck. Your 10 minutes starts now. Off you go. Right guys, that's time up. So I'm going to start going through the answers. Well done. Welcome back. Let's begin going through each of these. Let's give myself a little bit of space so I can do my working, the all-important working. Again, for these, I'm going to try and do what I would think is a roughly appropriate amount of working. So I'm not going to do full working out necessarily for every question, but I'm going to do as much as I would want you guys to do to get the same answer. So, which of these reads the same when rotated by 180 degrees? I've got to think what 180 degrees is like. Obviously, and I can do this on my bit of paper, but you can do the same thing in your book by turning your book upside down. So here we go, there's mine upside down. So I'm looking for one. So there's my OHO is jumping out at me. If I go back around again, still OHO. And of course, the secret to this is actually making sure that each of the individual letters is symmetrical. So P's have direction, the D's have directions, but the H, A, and O's and U's are all fine, but this is the only one that has all 3 perfectly symmetrical. And don't be afraid in your exam, of course, remember you're going to have an exam paper. In this, at home, you've got your book. You can always turn your books upside down if you are trying to work out rotations. Seems perfectly reasonable to me. Right, there you go. Question 1D. That was quite nice. Question 2. Look at the function machine below. So a function machine, we put in a number, we times it by 2, we take away 1, we times it by 4, we get the solution. If n is put into the function machine, which of the following expressions represents n? Well, let's do it. N gets multiplied by 2. So we would write that in maths as 2n, making sure I keep it the same as a capital. Then 2n has minus 1 taken away from it. Then whatever this is, all of it gets multiplied by 4. We would write that as 4 times. Now that times really, if I'm doing a proper algebra, we don't show, but for the sake of my example, I'm going to include it in there, but you could easily write this and it would be the same thing, because you have to know in algebra when things are written next to each other, there is a times there. And of course this we can now expand, so we do 4 times 2n, which is 8n. So we've done this. But also 4 times minus 1, a positive, times a negative is a negative, and 4 times 1 is 4. So our answer is 8n minus 4. C. I think for this one, not too much writing. It might have been worth doing that bit, a little bit of working out. Right, next question. Question 3. Mark is trying to place 3 straws of different lengths to form a triangle. Which of the following could be the lengths of 3 straws that Mark could make to use the triangle? Right, so 2, 2, 6, 4, 5, 10, 3, 4, 5, 3, 5, 9, 1, 2, and 7. Right, this is a really cool question. So I'm going to try and draw it. The rule with a triangle, if I've got my long line here, I'm going to draw my 2 other lines thing. In order to make a triangle, I have to have it so that these 2 are long enough to reach each other. Because obviously currently, this is not a triangle, it doesn't quite work out. So the way I would write this is, by adding together the 2 smaller sides, it has to be longer than the longest side. I think the way I've seen it written is that the sum of the 2 smaller sides must be greater or equal to the edge. In fact, they have to be greater, because if they're equal to, it would just be a line going back down itself. So obviously this isn't really a triangle either. So you have to be a bit longer so you can get a bit of room. So the maths we have to go through is, to make sure really quickly, to add these 2 together. Nope, that's smaller than 6. Add these 2 together. 9 is smaller than 10. Add these 2 together. 3, 4, and 5. Well, no matter how I add them, the 2 of them together are always longer than 1. So I think C is going to be correct. And I might just check to make sure. 3 and 5 is less than 9, and 1 and 2 is less than 7. So yep, our answer is C, because I've now got, if I'm in the picture, enough length to make this one extend far enough and this one extend far enough so I can have them meet up, making my triangle. So basically the rule is, just to recap, that these 2 triangles added together have to be longer than the blue one. Otherwise you won't get a triangle. Cool question. Number 4. Stephen collects Japanese and Chinese coins. He has 440 coins in his collection, with 36 more Japanese coins than Chinese coins. How many Chinese coins does he have? So what we've got to do is we've got to split this into 2 numbers, where the gap of the numbers is 36. So what I might be tempted to do is I might be tempted to divide 440 in 2, so I know roughly where I'm going to be, approximately. So that's going to be approximately 220. But then I need to go, the gap needs to be 36 on each side. So if I go half of 36, and the way I do that is half of 30 is 15, half of 6 is 3. So if I add that together, that's 18. So if I go plus 18 this way, and minus 18 this way, I'll end up in my 2 numbers. So let's see what that is. So we've got 220 plus 18. That takes me to 238. And then if I go 220 the other way, it would be 202. And then let's just check, is the gap between these two 36? Yes, it is. And when I add these together, do I end up at 440? Yes, I do. So I'm feeling a bit more confident, and I just have to read the question. He has 36 more Chinese than Japanese. So how many Chinese coins does he have? Then it's going to be the larger number, which is 238. So that's it. Could get there with trial and error on this one, but I think this is slightly faster. Let's clear my working. Right, question 5. Shape A is made from 12 identical wooden cubes. The whole shape is then painted blue. How many of the wooden cubes have exactly 3 spaces painted blue? 3 faces, apologies. The whole shape, so we need to have 3 faces only. Well, let's see if we can first define an example where you would have 3 faces only. If, for example, this one here is covered on 1, 2, 3 sides, but it's got this side, and the base exposed, that would have only 3 spaces. So we're looking for cubes that have got 3 spaces only pointing out to the open air. So let's go through a number of them. This one will do. This one will do. This one won't because it's got 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the bottom. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom. Nope. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom. Nope. This one, 1, 2, 3. Yes, this one will. This one will, and this one will. This middle one's only got 2 faces. This middle one's only got 2 faces, and these corner ones have got too many. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is my answer, which means my answer, is E. Next question. Question 6. Neil buys 11 metre of cord and cuts off 8 pieces, each with a length of n centimetres, and he has r centimetres of cord left. So 8 pieces. Okay, so which of these expressions is equal to r, the leftover? So let me go through. So he's got, there's something here that's important to spot. That's in centimetres, and that is in metres. So if you ever get units, it's worth underlining them because I think that can add a bit of difficulty. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my 11 metres, let's do it down here, my 11 metres into centimetres. So 11 metres is 1100 centimetres, or 1,100 centimetres. And since we're told that we've lost 8 pieces of n, means we've had taken away 8 lots of, in maths, lots of means times, so we've lost 8 times n. We could write it as 8 times m, but remember, good algebra, we can actually get rid of that, so it's 8n. So final answer, r is going to be equal to the leftover bit, is 1,100, take away 8n. And that gives us an answer of C. So the first step was to transfer it into centimetres, and then realise we could use the formula. Right, question 7. Ryan recorded the number of stars he earned at school each week in the pie chart above. The pie chart shows how many times he earned each number of stars. What was the mode of the number of stars? Well, there's a song that I make everyone learn for this, and I'm pretty sure I said it for the CEM students, so I'm going to do it for you lovely GL ones, and it's how I remember the mode, the median, the mean, the range. And it goes, the mode is the most, the median's in the middle, the mean is the average, bum bum, range is the biggest, take away the smallest, bum diddly bum ting. And if you're in my class, I've had all my students sing it because it works. But there's lots of things you can find, lots of rhymes you can to get them all in your head to make sure you know which is which. And I certainly recommend learning one of them because I learned that when I was in year 9 and it's stuck with me ever since. And I've had students come up to me who are now adults and they can still sing the song to me and still remember it. It's one of those amazing things. Get attuned to it and it lasts forever. So mode is the most frequent number. So the most frequent number is going to be the one that occurs most often. Now the trick here is people will go for 10, but that's not the answer because that's the mode, the biggest number of stars, but he got 3 the most times because can you see the biggest amount of pie chart is taken up by 3 stars. And what that means is he kept getting 3 stars a lot. He only got 10 stars quite a small amount. If you look at the number of chunks, it's a teeny tiny fraction. He got 3 stars, probably about 4 times more than he did get 10 stars. So that's your answer, number D. Let's clear this as well. So look at the next question. Question 8. The pictogram below shows the number of cakes ordered at a bakery over 5 days. What is the mean number? I got it, it's almost like a song. So the mean is the average, the true average, and also the other one I like remembering mean. The mean is the mean one to work out. So the mean, I'm going to write out a formula that you guys should all know by now. So to work out the mean, it's the total number added together divided by the number, or how many. I sometimes write the number of. So let's go through and have a look. So there are 12 cakes for every circle. So what I would do immediately is I would just turn these pictograms into numbers. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the size of my pen so it's a bit easier. So that's going to be 2 lots of 12, so 24. Tuesday we had a 12 and a half of 12 is a 6, that's 18. Wednesday is 12. 3/4 of 12 is 9. And 12. So that's how many cakes we are dealing with in total. So let's work out that total by adding them together. Now, if we add those number up, this is going to test my mental maths. I think we have 24, 18, 12, 9. It's 75, I want to say. I'd normally write that underneath. So there's my total. So the total is 75. And in this case, it's the number of days. So we're trying to find out the mean per day, but it's the number of days. So it's 5. So we need to do 75 divided by 5, which equals 15. Which means we would say now, using our nomenclature, on average, she sold 15 a day. That's why in the song we call it the average. So there's your answer is D. There's your formula, and there's your maths. Put an equals in so it looks better. Make that look more like a 75. Right, 9 and 10, nearly there. So if 9, a bit of algebra, I love some algebra. If 9y minus 7 equals 29 minus 3y, what is the value of y? The secret of this is to get y on one side on its own, so the end goal is going to be to have y equals something. The way to do this, and the rule is, you always move the smallest y. So you've got positive 9y and negative 3y. Well, a negative number is always going to be smaller than the positive number, so we're going to move this one. How do we move anything in algebra across an equal sign? Well, you do the opposite. So if this is minus 3y, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3y to both sides. And what you will do when we work that out is, let's go through. So we've got 9y plus 3y, which is 12y. Still got the minus 7 equals 29. Minus 3y plus 3y, they cancel out, and that's why we chose the opposite. So plus nothing, so that disappeared. Now we've got, might need a little bit more space, put that down there. Now we've got 12y minus 7 equals 29. Well, I still want y on its own, so I'm going to move the minus 7. So I'm going to do the opposite of minus 7, which is plus 7 to both sides. And that means now I've got 12y still, that doesn't change. Minus 7 plus 7 just disappears. There's my equal sign. And now I've got 29 plus 7, which equals 36. So if 12 lots of y equals 36, how do I do that last step? Let me just move this out the way so I've got a bit more working room. Well, again, using the same rule, I want to do the opposite. That 12y is actually a 12 times y. That's a rule we have to learn in algebra. I've mentioned it a few times now. So instead of, I want to move the 12 times, I have to do the opposite. So I'm going to divide both sides by 12. And that will actually end up 12 times 12 divide, they cancel out, leaving me with just a y. So y equals 36 divided by 12, which is 3. So final answer, y is 3. And for this one, I would definitely recommend, hold it so you can see nicely, this is definitely the working I would want to see, because I think algebra is one of the ones that, especially if you've not done it before, can be very difficult. But that's of course why we cover it now, because it can show up in the exam. So I might even just leave that up there while I finish off the question. So, what is the perimeter of shape F? The perimeter fence is the fence that goes outside. So all of your schools will have a perimeter fence. It's the thing that goes around the outside. So perimeter is the outside. So what we have to do, first off, is label all of our sides. So we've got A, B, and C, but I'm still missing all of these. So what I'm going to do, well, it does tell me something, is work out that this section here is D, which means that this bit and this bit, let's do it in different colours, in fact, let's make it really clear. This green length here, this green length here, that one plus that one adds up to make D. So whatever they are, they add up to make D. And on the opposite side, this entire length here is B, which means that this side plus this side plus this side are the same. So this big long red one is the same as this, and these green ones are the same as this. So if I now go through and write it out, I'll do it in black so it doesn't look different, and add up my sides, I've got all of this stretch, which is A, plus all of this, which is B, plus all of this at the bottom, which is C, plus this bit here, which is D, because I'm doing that bit and that, I'm just doing it in 2 bits. But I've gone across, I've also got to go up, but luckily that bit and that bit and that bit is B again. So I've got A plus B plus C plus D plus B. We are able to, so we have to simplify this a bit. So I've got 1A, 2 B's, 1 C, and 1 D. So let's have a look. We've got A plus we've got A plus B plus C plus D. Well, I suppose the other way of thinking about it, because we're not wrong, is that A and C and D are the same length. So maybe instead of where we've got C and D, because if you look, let's do it in blue, because this length here, which is A, is the same as C plus D, instead of writing C plus D, we could call that A. So now we've got A plus 2B plus A gives us now, final answer, 2 lots of A plus 2 lots of B. So they added a bit of a red herring in there by giving you D, but we could still, just by following through and applying what we know and substituting in values, we could still get there. So final answer, 2A plus 2B. Not a bad idea that you've seen this, because I can imagine a few people getting to this step and being stuck and confused why it's not the answer. Well, it is. You've just got to remember that this line, let me just move it down so you can see, this blue line A is the same as C and D together. So that measurement there will match that measurement there. Right, guys, tough question. Give yourself a score, please, out of 10. If you didn't get to the end, still give yourself a score out of 10. But hopefully what you'll have done is once the timer's run out, you'll still have finished it. So you might have 2 scores. You'll have a score that you got in the time limit and a score you got with unlimited time. I think that's definitely worth doing. Obviously, if you have any questions, write down the name based off this list here or the number, bring it to the Q&A at the end of a live session, and we're more than happy to go through it with you. Right, everyone, I think we can get on to the next test now. We're going to do test 2. It's in the exact same book as before, and it's simply the next page. So it starts on page 7. Again, you're going to have 10 minutes, and the different questions you're going to cover are equivalent values, money problems, magic square, age word problems, probability, addition, conversion charts, area, scale, and some more of that lovely algebra. So again, when you come back, these are the different keywords to look up for if you need more help with things. Right, guys, I'm going to set the timer. The first page, as soon as I can show you, looks like this. and I will go through the answers with you in about 5 seconds. But for you guys, it'll be 10 minutes, hopefully. Good luck. See how you get going. See you in a moment. Right, there you go. Time is up. So I'm now going to run through the answers with you, see how we get on, and mark our answers. So, answers for test 2, 7 through 9. Which of the following has got the greatest value? 30% of 120. So for this, I'm going to just work out the values and compare them. I think that's the best way. So 30%, so I would work out 10% first. 10% is 12. 30% is 3 lots of that, so it's going to be 36. My pen a bit smaller. Half of 180, well, half is divided by 2, so that's 40. So we've already got a new winner. 3/5 of 90, well, 1/5 of 90 is 90 divided by 5. I'm going to do it this way, so there's my 5 and my 90. 5 goes into 9, 1 time remainder 4. 5 goes into 40, 8 times. So that's 18, but that's only 1/5, remember. I need to now know what 3/5 is. So I would do 18 times 3, and for this I would just do 3 lots of 10 is 30. 3 lots of 8 is going to be 8, 16, 24. Add them together. 30 plus 24 is 54. 54. Let's make that a bit better. Then the last one, I like this bit of maths. I can work out what 52 is. Just leave it alone. And then 0.2 of 250. And of, remember, math means times, so we could multiply it. That might be the easiest way. I think, for my own mind, I'm going to turn that into a percentage, because that's the same as asking for 20% of 250. And 10% is 25. So 20% is going to be 2 lots of that. Times by 2 to get 50. Ooh, pen nib's not working very well today. But either way, C is my answer, because we've got 36, 40, 54, 52, and 50. So definitely 54 is our highest. Right, question 2. Clean that up for us. Come on. Maths is getting tired, obviously. Laura books a hiking trip that costs £480. She pays £20 a week. So far, she has paid £60. How many more weeks? Well, first off, I want to know how much money she's got left to pay. So she's going to do 480 take away 60, so she's got 420 left. And she wants to now know how many £20 will fit into the 420. So that's essentially this sum here. But just for easy mental maths, I'm going to ask myself the equivalent question of how many 2's fit into 42. And that answer is 21. So that's going to be the same fraction. And the reason, I might as well show you, this is not how I'd set it out now, but I think it's just interesting to see. If I do it as a fraction, 420 divided by 20, because that's what a fraction is, it's a division. Now what we're doing is we're simplifying down to get 42 over 2, and we know that these are equivalent fractions, so you can cancel because you can simplify, and again, it'll be 21 over 1, which equals our 21. That's your more full working, right? So it's interesting to see. I would have just stopped there once I realized it was 21. Circled my answer. Number 3. This is a magic square in which the vertical columns going this way, horizontal rows and diagonals all add up to the same number. Well, all right, and the 2 diagonals add up to the same number. That means I know, since the diagonals in there I've got, this is going to add up to 6 plus 4 equals 15. So now I know that everything has to equal 15. So what else can I fill in? Well, I'm going to just start filling in everything frantically. 8 plus 4 is 12, so that gives us 3. Now we've got 3 plus 5 is 8, so we need 7. And now we've got 6 plus 7 means we need to have 2. And now I've got my answer of 4 plus 2 is 6. So what else do we need? We need 9. So the question mark is 9. What I would be tempted to do, because there's only 1 slot left, just to check it works, if I had 9 plus 5, I should need 1 more. And let's just check. 8 plus 1 plus 6 equals 15. Yes, it does. Now, this would be an example where going one step extra just to check my answer, I think is worth it, because it's not much maths. Right, there you go. Next page. Question 4. Harry is now half of his sister's age. In 3 years' time, Harry will be 10. How old will his sisters be? So Harry is currently half. In 3 years' time, he will be 10. So that means right now he is 7 because it's 10 minus 3. And Harry is now half his sister's age. So his age is currently 14. And in 3 years' time, he will be 10, which means she will be the ripe old age of 17. So there you go. And that's how I would do it now and a then. And know that you should have 4 different numbers for each. The spinner below is divided into equal sections. She spins the arrow on the spinner. What is the probability that it lands on a section with a word made of more than 4 letters? Well, first off, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So whatever it is out of 8. Then I need to know how many have more than 4 letters. So, yeah, more is a keyword. I'd underline that. So it's not got more. Not got more. It does have more. Does have more. Does have more. Not got more. Does have more. Does have more. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them out of 8. So my answer to question 5 is B. 5 out of 8. 6. The sum. I always think I'll just do that because it reminds me sum means add of 3 consecutive numbers is 48. What's the largest number? Okay, so I need numbers to add. This might be where I use sort of these as a clue. I know that I'm going to add 3 numbers together. The longest can't be 48 because 48 plus anything is going to be bigger than 48. Consecutive means in a row, so it's like 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 12, 13, 14. They're around this region, so I'm just going to try one. I'm going to say if the largest number is 15, I'm going to do 15, 14, and 13. I'm going to add these together. So I would do 15 plus 15 is going to be 30, but then take away 1 is 29. Then 29 plus 30, sorry, let's do it. 29 is going to become 39 plus 3, 42. So I was nearly there, not far off. So I need it to be a bit bigger. So let's try 17. So I've got 17, 16, and 15. And again, I'm going to do these two together to get 31. And then 31 plus 17 equals 48. So that's my answer. So that one I think is quicker, just a little bit of guesstimation, get close and see where you end up. So that means for question 6, the answer is D. For these ones, you could have worked out all of them. And just to recap, the keyword consecutive means, for example, 3, 4, 5. They've got no gaps between. Question 7. A conversion chart for various ingredients is shown below, shown in the table below. So a recipe uses 2 cups of butter, 3 cups of flour, 1/5 of a sultana, and half a cup of almonds. What's the total weight? Oh my goodness, right, let's get going. So I'm going to do here the numbers we need. So recipe uses 2 cups of butter. So it's that times 2. It uses 3 cups of flour. So it's that times 3. Make my pen a bit thinner so I can fit it in. It uses 1/5 of sultanas. So that's a fifth means divided by 5. We've then got half a cup of almonds, so half is divided by 2. For these guys, you do need to know what a quarter is, a third, a fifth, an eighth, but they mean divide by 7, divide by 8, divide by 4, and so on. Does it mention any sugar? So butter, flour, sultanas, almonds, doesn't mention any sugar, so we can ignore that one. Nothing there. So let's go through. I'm going to do the easy ones first. So half of 110 is going to be 55. 200 divided by 5 is going to be the same as 20 divided by 5 with a 0 added on. So that's 4 with a 0 added on, 40. We've got 225 times by 2. So I'm going to do 200 times by 2, which is 400, and 25 times 2, which is 50. So 450. And we've got 150 times 3, which is the same as 15 times 3 with a 0 added on, and that's 45 with a 0, so 450. Right, now all of these are the weights that we've converted or worked out. We've got to add them together. So 450 plus 450 is 900. And then 40 plus 55 is going to be 95. I can say that's 995 is what those add up to. So 995 grams. It's very important. Shall we do our units? Right, so I think the answer there is 995 grams. Good. Just checking my notes. It is. Question 8. Figure C is made up of identical squares that are shaded black or white, a bit like a chessboard, a bit smaller. What area is shaded black? So first thing I want to check is how many are black. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there are 13 black squares and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 white. So there's a different number. That's worth checking. It'd be easier if there was only half because we could work out the total and halve it, but that's not what's here. So there are 13 black squares. Well, I'm just going to then choose to work out, I think, what the area of 1 is and times it by 13. So if I look at 1 square, what are the measurements? Well, it's 10 all the way across. That 10 is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means each of these measurements is 2. So since each of those measurements, what's the area of the square going to be? Well, it's going to be, as we mentioned in the example earlier, 2 times 2 will equal 4 centimeters squared. So that means our one single, let me just rub that little bit out. Our one single thing, God, this pen's not being very good. So one single thing is 4 centimeters squared. But I don't want to know just what 1 is. I want to know what 13 is. So I'm going to do 13 times by 4. And that's why if you really want, this is a bit of a tip more that I might give to my GCSE kids, but if you really want to feel confident, I recommend learning your timetables up to the 15 times table. So you end up knowing what 15 times 15 is, 225 if I'm not mistaken. Because I think 13s and 14s, 15s do come up frequently enough. If you can do your times tables that big, it's a bit of a challenge, it's certainly worth it. In this case, times by 4, the easiest way is to double it and double it again. So 13 doubled is 26, and then 26 doubled is 52. Nice little tip as well. So it's 52 centimeters squared. Final answer. So that means it's C. Right, last one. 9 and 10. We've got question 9. Figure B is a regular heptagon, 7-sided shape. What is the total area of figure B? So it's going to be 2xy square units. Okay, great question. So what information have they given you? Let's pluck it out. They've given us a triangle. And they've given us the height of that triangle, which is h. And they've given you the base of that triangle, which is 2y. And that is x. So the height equals x. And the base equals 2y. So this now applies you to work out a formula or work out a rule. It's the rule for areas of triangles. And the area of a triangle is half the base times the height. So let's plug in our things. We've got to do a half times 2y times x. Notice how when I'm drawing, my times is a straight and my x is a curly. That's to make them stand out from one another so you can spot the difference. But that's one, and that will give us the area of one triangle. But I don't want the area of one triangle. I want the area of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my total answer is going to be 7 times by a half times by 2y times by x. Well, luckily, I can simplify these numbers, and actually, a half of something and 2 times something are going to cancel each other out. So I'm going to end up with just 7 times y times x. And in algebra, two things. We always put it so it's in alphabetical order, and the other thing is we don't bother to write the x's. So my final answer is going to be 7xy. So let's have a check. So that means the answer 7xy square units, whatever the units are, Square units just means whatever the units are, we're going to square them. Right, so let's just put that into little chunks because I think that was a bit of a hard one again. I think the first bit to make sure is we know this rule. Base times the height, that's that first bit up there. And then we also need to know, so there's your rule. And then we needed to spot it. We didn't just want one triangle, we wanted 7 of them. So we times that area by 7, and we cancelled out our halving and times 2 because they eliminated one another. Right, question 10. A map is drawn to a scale of 1 to 2,000. What length on the map represents a real distance of 40 meters? So for these, with scales, it's always the real distance is the big one. Ooh. This is your real, and this is your map. So it's M to R. So if we ended up having, well, I'm going to do some things. First off, let's do M to R. And we know that it's 1 to 2,000 is the scale. First thing I want to do is I'm going to turn my 40 meters into centimeters. And 40 meters into centimeters is 4,000 or 4,000 centimeters. And the reason I say, by the way, 4,000 is because I know that 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So I've got 40 hundreds, or 4,000. So this is how much I've got in real life. So I want to now know, using the same ratio, if this was 4,000, what would it be? And the way to do this is I ask myself, well, how did I get from here to here? Equals times by 2. So to apply the same rule, I'm going to apply this by 2 as well, which means my answer then is 2. And with a scale, whatever units you put in, you get out. So since I put in centimeters, I got out centimeters. If I put in meters or kilometers, I would have got out kilometers. So my answer is A, 2 centimeters. That's how you do the ratio. Right, guys and girls, the last thing to leave you with, this is the homework. So it'll be in this homework book here. Obviously, you have to do both weeks, but for maths particularly, this is my column with the arrow pointing to it. Do the best you can. Again, by the way, just something to look out for. I think the homework answer videos for the last 2 lessons, so lessons 1 and 2, will have gone live. They should be up on YouTube. You access those. I say they're on YouTube, but you actually access them via the portal. So you need to log on to the Teach It Right portal, log in. Again, there is on YouTube, the Teach It Right website, and you've been emailed this, a video showing you how to access these, and you'll be able to find them there. And in terms of how best to use them, I recommend just sitting down and marking, follow along with the video. It just makes it a bit easier than flipping back and forth, so hopefully the kids can mark it. And again, if there are any questions from this lesson or the homeworks, please come visit us in the live session or one of the Q&As. Right, guys, thank you so much. Hopefully this has been useful. See you all later. Bye-bye.